Hello there, you are listening to The Screen Queen, where you'll be finding your favorite movie or your favorite television show and learning something new. You'll just have to listen to find out. Here is your host, Samantha Parrish.
Hello there, and welcome back to the show, and thank you so much for being here for the 100th episode of The Screen Queen. I am so thrilled to be here. Like, my eyes almost got watered just thinking about 100 episodes. I started this show in June 2022, and it became a project that I created. I mentioned that this was a very important thing for me to start after I left my abusive relationship. And now seeing how far this show has come to be more than just something that got me through a rough time in my life, but that this show has also helped others with a rough time in their life as well. And all I'm doing is literally yelling at movies, so it's kind of funny how it's like a comforting thing, but to see how much the show has grown from how I have grown as a podcaster. I've had friends reach out to me saying that there's been a maturity in my voice as I found my way to be a commentator on many topics within these films.
So the idea of 100 episodes was a little trickier than I thought. Because of this being a media show, there are a million ways that I could do about this show, but the core of the show is not the movies. You know, even though my name says The Screen Queen, the heart of the show really lies with the people that have supported this show. Every time I go into record an episode, I know who's going to be listening to an episode. I know that there is a undying support from the people that have backed me up, even at times I was at the worst. And I've been pretty vocal about my mental health on here and what I've been through. So as much as this show can always keep going, there would be no show without the people that have helped me out. Like, there are days that it's so hard to record, but I know there are others out there that are like, hey, love the show. I'd love to hear what you have to say, but have also been so courteous to make sure that I'm taking care of myself. So this episode is truly for the people that have backed me up. So then came the idea that I'm going to reach out to 6 of my friends and ask them what their favorite episode is and why. Over the months of the production for this episode, I had friends reaching out to let me know, like, hey, I got the episode done, or how much do you need? I'm like, listen, this is a simple episode. Make it however you want to be. It can be like one sentence, or it can be like a full-on like high school essay. It just depends on how you feel about the episode and that you get everything that you want to say about it. And some of the snippets that I read, they definitely did the whole assignment, extra credit, everything that was required. And now we're about to hear what the fans of The Screen Queen have had to say. So I'm going to start this whole shindig with one of the fans on the show that has now become one of my friends, and her name is Autumn. At the end of every episode of The Screen Queen, I always ask if there's any suggestions that I would love to hear about them. And Autumn definitely delivers. I get like a slew of suggestions to put onto the show, and I love it. I love things that I've never seen before, so it adds some variety, because I'm always scared the show can be a little biased, and I really appreciate that Autumn gives me things that can be a idea for the show in the future, and it's contributions like Autumn's that help out so much. So here is Autumn's favorite episode and why. But before I read what Autumn wrote, I need to say one more thing. They wrote this so fast. I had just announced that there was going to be like 2 to 3 months before I would air, but Autumn automatically had their episode ready. And it was really cool, and I just had to share that before I got into it. So here is Autumn's favorite episode and why. My favorite episode is Let's Get Spirited Away. Studio Ghibli has always held a special place in my heart for the feel-good movies, both English dubbed and original movies, are easily one that I can turn to for any occasion of movie time. Anything by Hayao Miyazaki. In my opinion, it is a hit, never a miss. The way you broke down the movie to maybe a listener who's never seen this movie really made it appealing, and I also feel that the movie is special to you as well based on how you spoke of it. Thank you so much, Autumn. I appreciate you. So the next speaker to be introduced is someone that I've talked about a lot on the show. I've always found some way to give AMS a shout out in any episode. If I catch wind about one of their favorite movies coming up, I always want to make sure that they get their flowers because they've helped out the show a lot. When I began The Screen Queen, they told everyone at their workplace about it, and it increased the audience for the show like tenfold. It is amazing what AMS did to help the show out so much. AMS has been there for many moments of the Sammy show. They've been there when I went through my abusive relationship and always kept me logical, always kept me thinking, always made sure that I was in my best state. Like they never once let me go into something without thinking things through. They always look out for my best interest, and it really shows how much they have helped me out so much. So I really appreciate you. And before I start crying, here is AMS's favorite episode of The Screen Queen. It's such an honor to be featured on The Screen Queen, so thanks for including me in your recap and reviews. First off, I love the show and congrats on the 100th episode. You are so respectful of your audience's individual experiences and tastes while describing your perspective of the media and interesting facts that you cover. If I could talk, that would be great. Moving on. One of my favorite episodes is definitely Over the Garden Wall. It's one of my must-watches for the spooky season, and you did a great job providing an overview, describing the characters and plot while keeping enough to the imagination. In your episode, you make references to Adventure Time and cartoons like it, which makes sense as the creator, Patrick McHale, worked on both Adventure Time and Flapjack before Over the Garden Wall was produced. The short series won 2 Emmys in 2015 for Outstanding Animated Program and Outstanding Individual Achievement in Animation, as well as in Ottawa for Best Animated Feature. Originally, the series was called Tomb of the Unknown and was to include 18 chapters following 2 brothers that made a pact with the devil and had to track down pages to the Book of Forgotten Stories. His original idea was much darker, featuring a skinless witch and a villain that carved dice from children's bones, but there were significant changes from the initial concept in 2004 by the time they got it to production in 2013 due to budget constraints. And I mean, looking at it, it's hard not to see how the budget definitely had to be spent wisely and costly. McHale took inspiration from various sources, from vintage Halloween postcards, Hans Christian Andersen's story, The Tinderbox. Yeah, I can see that. The 1980s board game, Game of Frog Pond, as well as various illustrations, photos of New England foliage, and chromolithography to bring his vision to life. It's a series that's appealing to both audiences young and old. I highly recommend checking out the short comic series that McHale and artist Jim Campbell produced after the animated series, as it fills in portions of the story between episodes and is an easy, fun read. I feel the comic series does a great job to remedy some of the disjointed plot points between earlier episodes and give the story more depth. Thank you so much for having me on the show and doing Over the Garden Wall justice in your reviews. You're fantastic, and your show has given so much joy to so many listeners. Thank you. That's so sweet. I'm gonna cry. So the next on my list is a friend of mine from Open Mic Night, and that is a community that I've talked to a lot on here, and I've made a lot of references to some of the people I've met there. Eli and Aubrey, who is his partner. They go together like Danny and Zuko, but they're like a positive version of Danny and Zuko all the way. And these two are super supporters of the show. Aubrey went on to tell me that whenever she and Eli are in the car, and my show would literally be the last podcast they listen to. So I am the first thing they hear when they get in their car. And I'm like, I'm so glad that I can be basically the kit in your car. It was hilarious to hear that. So naturally, I reached out to them to ask if they would like to contribute for the 100th episode celebration. And Eli took the helm and gave me his favorite episode. And here it is. I enjoy every minute that I spend listening to Samantha, but so far, my very favorite has been her coverage of The Prince of Egypt. I grew up constantly watching this movie. It is truly some of DreamWorks' finest work, and I remember always feeling transported into the world of the characters. Only in recent years have I gained an appreciation for how ambitious and effective the storytelling is in this movie. And somehow I think Samantha was reading my mind when she put this episode together, because she gets why this movie rules. On top of that, she went so much deeper into the production, casting, music, obviously, and even the animation. I think it's easy to rip apart a bad movie, but it's a lot harder to give meaningful analysis of something this timeless. And my screen queen nailed it. And it should go without saying that her love of the craft, history, and culture of filmmaking came through, as it does in every episode. Listening to this podcast always feels like hanging out and talking with movies with an old friend. Congrats on 100 episodes. All hail the Screen Queen. Thank you so much, Eli. I really appreciate that. That was so sweet. So next up is my friend Emily. I have known Emily, gosh, this is going to make me feel old. I met her when I was 17 years old, when I went to anime conventions. And even though we had not really known each other well at that first meeting, like, there is so much love that she gave me already, like these huge crushing hugs and the way that she like lit up a room everywhere she went. And I love the first official time that I got to know her as a mutual friend was where she said, I only know your name is Twinny, but I remember you. And the memory is so strong with this one. Absolutely astounding. And over the years, we've still kept in touch with each other. And then when we finally got the chance to have an established friendship, like, there's no way I could be able to have my life without Emily. And Emily's been a huge part of not only my journey and how I've been going through life, but the way I have had an online presence. Emily's one of the hugest fans of everything that I've put out. She'll go out of her way to contact me and say, hey, I love the newest video you put up on YouTube. And she said she always felt honored that she knew someone on YouTube. I like how she says it in a way without blowing smoke up my ass, because she knows I'm still the same old Sammy, but she always gave me that praise for something, and it helped out a lot as I grew my media presence online. So naturally, when I shifted from making YouTube videos to becoming a podcast host, like, she was already at the helm, like, let me know what day, time that you upload things so I can support your stuff. So naturally, when I gave her the mission to tell me what her favorite episode of The Screen Queen is and why, her answer really astounded me. And I'm not going to go ahead and spoil it. I'm just going to let you listen to it. My favorite episode is The History of Rambo. I'm not what you'd call a movie buff, so many of the classics are sadly beyond my knowledge. I went into this episode thinking it was just another macho action film, but Sammy's passion for these movies almost had me crying by the end. It's heartwarming to look back at the pioneering movies for mental health, especially in the 80s, and seeing an action movie with Sylvester Stallone, of all people, be one of those pretty awesome. So if you're looking for an episode to be your gateway, this is my personal recommendation. That was so sweet. Thank you so much, Emily. Coming in at number 5, but is still a number 1 in my life, is my best friend Ace. Ace, I'm just going to say it, he's the one that usually knows the most stuff about what's going on with me creatively. So Ace has actually been on the show before. He was featured in the Goodfellas episode, and I have also mentioned him in many of my movie stories, and he is an important figure in my life. He is the reason I am a published author and has helped with all of my creative endeavors, from the books I've written to the podcast that I've written and produced. He's been there for like every step of it. And he always asks me like, I don't know how the heck you do it all. And he knows everything that I do because we talk literally every day. And when I told him about the birth of the Screen Queen, he was just thrilled to see another creative endeavor I was going into. And he will often kind of pick on me and say, like, I need you to pick a movie that I love so I can be on the show. And then I really appreciate everything that he's done for the show to spread it to his audience and always sharing it on all of his socials. He's been the hugest contributor since we're both in an area that isn't really the most metropolis-like. So we both are on the grind constantly getting our books out there and getting our content out there, and we're just going at it every day. And he took the time out of his day to give me what his favorite episode of The Screen Queen is. Dear Sammy, I just want to express my gratitude for witnessing you consistently following your passion. One of my favorite moments of the series was joining you on the Goodfellas episode and truly giving the film and Ray Liotta, R.I.P., his flowers. Along with that, I like how you shed a light on The Long Kiss Goodnight, Rambo, Rambo's got another hit, and Kingsman. You make movies feel more human. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you so much, buddy. That was so sweet. Thank you, bestie. So the last fan favorite that I'm going to share is my best friend, Carla. Carla has now become a new best friend in my life to add to my many best friends. And she has also come into her own, and I've got to watch her growth and her evolution. She has also come into the podcast world as a podcast host and created a show called Growing with Carla. So we're always working on our podcast together. So just like what Eli and Aubrey went through, when my episodes would randomly pop into their car, my podcast would be playing during our hangouts. So no matter what, I was always talking, even when I wasn't talking. And Carla worked damn hard on this mission that I gave her. When she sent me the message of the entire segment that is going to be in this episode, I kept myself in the dark as much as possible. And I wanted to save that moment to talk about on the show. And here it is. Courage, the cowardly dog of our childhood. This was my favorite episode of Screen Queen because of all the nostalgia. I grew up watching Courage and all the crap he was put through. This episode made a lot of points that I hadn't thought about before. That makes me love the series even more. First, Sammy's comment about how the series will throw the weirdest, creepiest shit at Courage, but we all know that in the end he's still getting a good ending with Muriel. Nothing else matters except that they get to be together. Second, how Sammy reminds us of how human the characters are, that they make mistakes, sometimes a lot of them, but they still work out in the end. Mistakes are okay and allow us learning opportunities. We do see Courage growing from previous experiences throughout the episodes. Third, just how much this show highlighted mental health. I remember watching the show when I was young and being able to better identify my own sadness and melancholy because of seeing Courage feeling the same things. But I love that he always carried hope. His Muriel was waiting for him. Even in dark times when we feel lost, there is hope and compassion available to us when we need it. There are a ton of really scary episodes where I'll, to this day, still cover my eyes to block part of the screen to not see the whole monstrosity. Some things felt too far-fetched sometimes, but overall I was able to connect with the show greatly. That's why Sammy covered this series makes it my favorite episode. Thank you. That was so sweet. It has been almost 2 years since the Courage the Cowardly Dog episode aired, and to this day, I still find people telling me that Courage the Cowardly Dog is their favorite episode. Like, y'all know how thrilled I was that I got to cover an animated television show during the Halloween series, but Courage hits the bill for me on all points. Like, when I'm dead and gone, I want that DVD buried with me. That's how much I love Courage. And to see people love it the same way I do, it is one of the proudest moments that I have as a podcaster, was how this episode hit all the points that it had to. So after hearing 6 amazing stories to support the show, I want to end the 100th episode to tell you guys what my favorite episode is and why. Out of the 100 episodes that I have done, no matter how many times I asked myself that question, I came up with the same answer, and it's Yu Yu Hakusho. Now, I did a whole hour and 11 minute special about Yu Yu Hakusho, and I'm still mentioning that anime till the day I died, but I felt so proud of the way that I commentated on that anime. There are so many people that talk about Yu Yu Hakusho and everything that I've learned over the years on how to elaborately talk about a certain topic. That really tested me on everything that I've done to show people how much I love that anime and what I've learned about it, and the way that I have reanalyzed this anime in the 20 plus years that I've been watching it. And I felt so honored that I could talk about it and make something that fits into the mold with the other commentators that have had something elaborate to say about Yu Yu Hakusho. When it comes to the all-time favorite series that has changed your life, like, I pulled out all the stops for the way that I had to present Yu Yu Hakusho. There were numerous times that I had to re-record the same material. That was the most intense episode that I did, but I persevered all the way through, knowing that this was going to be a good episode. That was the first huge challenge that I had, and the entire time, like, I didn't feel bad because I knew that this was going to be a good one. There was so much faith and positivity that went behind this. And I still go back and listen to that one because of how proud I am of that one. Like, there are some times I sit there listening to it. I feel so proud of how that one came together. So if anyone had ever asked me what my favorite episode is, that is your answer. And that is such an amazing way to mark 100 episodes of The Screen Queen. It's going to be wild having to upload these episodes and having to put in triple digits now. It is quite remarkable to see how much has been covered in the first 100 episodes, of episodes that were difficult to create, episodes that were my favorites to make. The guests that I've had on the show, it's been an amazing first run for 100 episodes. And I just want to say thank you so much to the contributors to this episode that took the time out of their day to show the support for the show after all these years. So thank you so much to Autumn and Carla and Ace and Ams and Eli and Emily. I love you all so very much. I am still feeling water in my eyes, so I gotta wrap this episode really quickly. So I made the announcement a couple episodes ago that I am taking a much needed break after the 100th episode airs. However, I'm not going to leave you in the dark to find out what your next episode is going to be on The Screen Queen. But there's a catch. So last August, I did a whole special involving anime and called it Anime August. This year, I'm doing something different. I am going to be presenting Anniversary August for the whole month special. I have a thing about August being kind of a downer month because of the end of summer, but I like to spruce August up a little bit and make it special. So this is the special for that. Anything ending in 4 for 2024 is going to be a contender. So if you have a favorite series or movie that is going on its 10th, 20th, 30th, 50th anniversary, please message me and I'll add it to the bin. I already have a certain collection going right now, but I will take all the suggestions that I can get to make this a little bit more balanced out to get some material, because I know there's plenty of shit out there that's hitting some anniversaries. But for your first title that you're going to find out when I come back in 2 weeks is happening right now. So here we go. I got my limited suggestions right here. I'm about to find out together. All right, it's shaked up enough. All right, what are you? Tell me your secrets. What's going on here? Of course, I can't even be mad at that. I mean, honestly, that would have to be the first pick of Anniversary August. So, your first episode for Anniversary August on the Screen Queen is going to be Shrek 2. I know a lot of people probably just screamed in the distance. Like, I'm pretty sure after I listen to this episode and I hear some screaming, I'm like, yep, they know. Well, thank you so much for being here for 100 episodes of The Screen Queen. And as always, if you would like to catch up with me in between uploads, you can find me on my Instagram at the Queen of the Screen. If you're interested in finding a different way to listen to your favorite media queen, I am now available on YouTube. And if you're interested in a little crime series that I wrote that is chock full of movie references from your favorite media queen, I wrote a little book called Inglorious Inc., and you can find that on Amazon, but I have that bad boy in the description box. Alrighty, you all take care now, stay amazing, and again, thank you for 100 episodes. This is your Screen Queen, signing off. Bye-bye!